Thank you for considering the courses of Invisible Economics. In this video, we offer an overview of the key components and feature sample videos from the lessons. The curriculum is carefully structured into 7 modules and includes an executive summary. It offers 3 course levels, including Executive, Market Access Partner, and Market Access Leader. Our modular design provides maximum flexibility, allowing each individual to customize the courses to meet their individual training goals. This empowers busy professionals to efficiently complete short, segmented classes while on the go. Now, let's dive into some video samples that highlight content from various lessons. Please note that all of this content has been compressed for time. On these slides, you'll begin to see how the different lessons line up with each of the courses. For example, population management theory really sets the stage for how stakeholders begin to look at managing a population. Key stakeholders focuses in on the relationships between the individual stakeholders in the market, including health plans, PBMs, patients, wholesalers, etc. Stakeholder economics is the first look into the financial relationships between these stakeholders. When we think of population-based decision makers, we really need to think of 2 types of groups of people. As we think of averaging the cost of care across a group of people, we think about this concept of per member per year. So now we've moved over to health plans. And what you see on the right side is now the health plan, their customers, the employers. If the employer is happy with the health plan, chooses to renew every year, they have a happy customer. Now we're going to dive into a health plan perspective, a patient perspective, and a manufacturer perspective of what this actually means in terms of their P&L. I think it's important to take a pause here and talk about one of the fundamental dynamics of a health plan. They're trying to build networks. So they're able to say, hey, I'm going to bring you a huge population of new patients that are going to start using your physician office, and you are in return going to give me a lower cost of care. That is essentially the deal that they are striking. This creates a little bit of tension with physicians because they end up beholden to these networks. So the point here is that there's different places in this process as the patient moves through a deductible that they are having a different financial experience within the healthcare system. So let's dive into the actual fees that a manufacturer pays throughout the value chain. There are 2 kind of special situations that I wanted to make sure I mentioned in this section. There's something called 340B pricing within the pharmaceutical industry. It's important to note the executive summary focuses on summarizing 4 key areas: payer policy, reimbursement, pricing, and contracting. The payer coverage section includes landscape, which focuses in on the types of insurance coverage patients have in the United States. Also talks about the geographical differences in coverage. This is where you'll begin to understand Medicare, Medicaid, the parts of Medicare, etc. In the next bucket, the Medicaid 21%, this is a federal program that provides funding to the states. And so Medicare Part D has been influential not just because of the total coverage within the marketplace, right, the number of patients that are actually on a Medicare Part D plan, but also because of the creation of policies that have affected patients even in the employer-based space. What you see as of about 2021 is that about half of patients are taking traditional Medicare. You can see 53% here on the slide of the 58.2 million. In payer policy, 3.1 is utilization management, talking about the tools and techniques that population-based decision makers use to manage costs within their population. In utilization management strategic considerations, market access leaders will learn how to begin to leverage these types of utilization management to garner the best outcome for their product and the best availability for their patients. In order for utilization management to occur in a particular class or category, there's generally 3 rules that you'll hear over and over again from insurance companies. The next major trend that's happened in the last few years is accumulators and maximizers. So a step edit requires that drug A be used before drug B. So if a prescription is written for drug B, the computer goes in and automatically checks that drug A has been given. Something that I think we often in the pharma industry forget. We're probably very familiar with the pressures on our own business model. What we often overlook or just don't think about or talk about are the pressures within the insurance model.
In the reimbursement module, claims processing delves into the timing and financial roles in the pharmaceutical distribution and dispensing processes. The coding section offers a comprehensive overview of HCPCS codes, illustrating how the codes interact to facilitate communication among stakeholders.
Here, we're breaking down the Pharma Report Follow the Dollar to show all the individual components of the claims processing between the pharmacy and the PBM. This slide is a particular favorite because I think it shows it in a way that hits home, right? On the left side, you see the wholesale acquisition cost of $100. And then on the right side, you see the individual payments that make up the $116 that we talked about a moment ago in 3 segments. So when we look at who's retaining the value of this $100 script, you could see the manufacturer is retaining about $62.
In the pricing module, pricing theory leads the way, talking about the concept of value-based pricing and how shifting the reference and the differentiation for a brand can have a big impact on the way stakeholders perceive it. In quantitative pricing, lesson 5.2, we begin to explore the relationship between price and volume and how this relationship impacts your marketing decisions with regard to your full product strategy. Price communication describes the process by which we articulate the price to stakeholders in the market. Pricing research for market access leaders is designed to help us understand what types of market research projects and what types of approaches we may use for developing a pricing strategy.
So the first thing to understand about pricing theory is that we've seen a big evolution from the concept of cost plus pricing to the concept of value-based pricing. If you see the blue line at the top of this graph, this is the cost represented by this thicker gray line plus a 20% margin. A new drug with 2 potential value propositions. But on the left side, if we said this drug is the next generation in the class, you can see that there's a relationship between volume and price. That relationship is that as we charge more money, less and less people want to use the product. Oftentimes, people get very fixated on the volume, the price-volume relationship, but what they forget about is the revenue-volume relationship. If you look at the graph on the right, now we're showing the gross and net revenue at all points across that blue line. The purpose of this slide, when you step back and look at each step, is that depending on how you frame the discussion on the price of a therapy really affects how you think about the comparisons. Now you're starting to see that not only is it the price of the therapy, but it's the individual perceptions of the stakeholders in the market. How will they look at the cost of therapy?
In the contract module, contract theory builds on concepts in value-based pricing and quantitative pricing by introducing tailored offers for individual customers and customer groups.
For example, when we started this discussion here, we were talking about a single price at 50 versus a single price at 100, and you can see how the gross, net, and margin play out for each of those scenarios. As you think about this from an area under the curve perspective, it becomes very transparent very quickly that the more you can customize the acquisition cost to the exact maxima that a customer is willing to pay, the more you can capture in gross revenue and net revenue and maximize your margin. Ultimately, the anatomy of a deal suggests that both sides have to find value. To give you a sense of what the sensitivity of this type of modeling looks like, you can see 3 scenarios modeled on the screen.
Under the population-based decision-maker engagement module, population-based decision-maker engagement is lesson 7.1. We talk about what population-based decision-makers value in terms of engagement with stakeholders from the pharmaceutical industry and factors that would be important to communicate in your meetings. 7.2, population-based decision-maker sales provides a strategy on when to reach out to these stakeholders and what types of information to provide throughout the product lifecycle. In 7.3, PBDM marketing, we explore how to actually design a marketing program for these stakeholders.
There are a number of different marketing models or considerations about how you approach customers in the marketplace. When you start to get into that environment, the model that focuses on emotional benefits breaks down. There are PBMs who will send out an RFP. On that RFP, they say, But what's your one of one contract price? What's your one of two? What's your one of many contract price? In that scenario, they're moving the discussion away from the clinical benefits of the brand to a purely economic discussion on price, but not even on the price, on the what are you going to do for me in the rebate discussion. And there's a number of different parts that I would focus on in order to understand the account best. A couple of tips with regard to explain the details in the branded and unbranded campaign. Thank you for reviewing the video samples from the Invisible Economics lessons. We hope this video has provided you an understanding of the courses available. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us.